Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Albena's show. I'm happy today to have a very special guest, Nicole Beutler, theater maker, choreographer, and owner of her own artistic company. For long years, experience in entrepreneurship in the cultural sector. And yeah, we're going to discuss topics that are interesting for people who transition from employment to entrepreneurship, or from anything to entrepreneurship, to get a little bit of her energy and motivation to keep going and produce the great stuff that we all have inside of us. Nicole, welcome.
Hello.
Please feel like at home in my show. And how do you see yourself more as an artist or more as an entrepreneur? Please tell us a little bit of how you came to be such a successful leader of a company and successful artist, known on a very renowned in the Netherlands, and paving your way internationally. Please tell us how you achieved such a great heights.
Thank you. The thing is that the path to get here wasn't really a straight one. So I first studied fine arts and literature, and only 5 years after graduating from high school, I found my path. So there were like 5 or 6 years where I was struggling to find out who I was. And even though at the age of 24, I thought also I would be too old to study dance, I found a school in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, theater school, that would still take me in. After having been at the arts academies, etc. But dance was always my passion, but somehow I didn't quite know how to realize it, because I wasn't a ballerina in the classic sense. I just had a huge love for dancing, and I did dance all my life as an amateur. And when I was 17, more intensively, but it was too late for a ballet career, let's say. But at the age of 24, I suddenly found myself studying dance, and I was at home with where I was supposed to be. The School for New Dance Development is a school that I almost saw like an arts academy for the dance. So it wasn't only about physical skills, but it was always about the context. Why do we dance? How do we look at dance? What is dance theater good for? And what is the history of it? And where do we position ourselves inside that? And
what you're saying is you already started thinking not just the dance, but the whole context in which the dance is placed in our society, and what role it plays, and what could you give to the society back by producing, by using the dance as a medium.
Yes, absolutely. And then at the age of 28 only, I graduated. And since then, I am busy developing my work with lots of ups and downs. And in the first 5 years was very difficult. And after 5 years, slowly some income started to come around, and I wasn't scraping the floor with other additional jobs. And in the meantime, I have my own company for 10 years with 6 employees and a lot of freelancers that are joining every project. And in the meantime, we are part of the infrastructure of Amsterdam and the Netherlands of dance theater makers. And maybe what is also interesting to share is that I am not a classic choreographer. I have background in fine arts and in literature, and I've studied old languages in high school. So what I propose is a concoction and a searching for new forms in theater. And that is something that is totally not obvious that you can make a mark with that. But on the other hand, it's necessary because I'm different. from the classic idea of what a choreographer has to be. What I create is Gesamtkunstwerke, so it's fine art, theater, dance, somewhere in between, always innovative, always looking for new forms. And that is something that is also necessary in the field. But you can only see that in retrospect. If you look into the future, it's hard to predict. Will there be space?
So if I hear you saying you're combining all that you have in you, all your interests, all your passions for fine arts, literature, music, your education also, formal education, to produce something from within you. And maybe that's exactly what is very interesting here for people who go into entrepreneurship. Let's say if you've been an employee for a long time, you had a boss that is telling you all the time what you need to do and when it's good enough also. So you feel, confident that you've delivered. And when you go into entrepreneurship, you are the source of the ideas and there is so that would be my question. Many entrepreneurs that I know in the beginning struggle with, who am I? What am I to give to this world? What makes me unique? Who needs my products or services? So in which way, how do you choose on what to work? That would be what I would really love to hear.
Yes.
Could elaborate a bit on that.
Yes. So now in the meantime, I'm busy for more than 20 years. So maybe what I answer now, I wouldn't have known in the beginning, but it became more and more apparent. In the beginning of my making career, a colleague said that I feel like I'm a world filter. And in the current COVID pandemic, we also feel that we're really part of the world. So we are entangled with what surrounds us. So then I learned that when I feel that something is at stake in the current situation, let it be either with my body or how I'm perceived as a woman, or how we are dealing with each other as a society, or how male are depicted in society, etc., or how politics are going on an even larger scale, or how we are relating to the universe. If I feel that there's something at stake, I can be quite sure that there are many other people that feel the same. So there is, in the meantime, I have learned to trust that intuition, that if I sense, hear, feel something is at stake, something is missing, there is something we need to pay attention to because it's not taken care of properly, and something that that is, I feel urgent in the actual situation, then I focus on that. And often it is a first idea where I feel this really matters to me and I want to learn more about it. Because when I start a project, I really don't know how it's going to look in the end. But I know there is a subject matter that means something to me. And I know that if it means something to me, I'm not so special. The idea of the artist genius is long gone. That's 100 years ago. In the meantime, we are just humans that learn certain skills, and I have learned the skill of working with people, understanding the frame and the necessities of creating a theater event. But in how I think and how I feel as a human being, I'm pretty similar to everybody else.
Yeah, wow. Very, very, very great. So you have to, I mean, there are so many points that we could develop further from what you just said. So many interesting things about trusting your intuition, about relating to other people, about listening, sensing what is relevant in today's society. I even once read about you actually I'm going to share these links below, that my projects are driven by the desire for a better society. So there is this big purpose out of which you make concrete actions to change slowly from within you with your projects. But there is a greater purpose around it. And what I hear you say, okay, this is it. This is how you create your first idea or the topic that captures your interest. What I'm curious is to learn a bit more is how you, what is your framework to come from an idea to a final product? So which steps you take to develop this idea, and also along these steps, how do you know that you're on the right path? Is it because you've done these steps 100 times now? Because I don't know how many performances you've produced till today. It might be maybe even 100. But or is it because you have clear signs? Okay, I've reached this, and now I know that I'm on the good track.
Yeah,
that would be. I hope,
yeah.
I hope the question is clear.
Yeah, there are many entrances and things that I find interesting about your question. So I will just start to respond to some, and then we see where we get. First of all, you said the idea of doing something good for society. I think I want to respond to that quickly, even that wasn't your last question, because that is a very clear entrance of mine, that if something is at stake, I feel we need to produce an imaginary world that goes towards healing. And maybe healing sounds a bit big, because I'm not assuming that in a theater event I can really heal people, but through imagination and through a vision, a constructive vision, I think we can, on a butterfly effect, affect society, affect the way we live together. So the way I work is I look for that which is not yet there, and I focus on cooperation, on constructive, energizing imagery that gives people, empowers people. When they're watching it, there is a feeling of, yes, we can do this. So that is important for me.
Yeah. So for anyone that listens to us and is busy to develop his own business, there are a couple of elements that you can look into. So what's your bigger purpose? Then what is the value that I can give to the society at this moment? What are the skills that I have to give this value? Those are the topics that will bring you into the right direction and will give you indication if your business is going to succeed. Because there is no business out there that doesn't solve a problem or that doesn't fulfill a certain need. That's kind of the right of existence, especially if you want to get paid for it.
Yeah. And I feel that because it's maybe big to say we can heal the world, and I feel that's why I said butterfly effect. I say and think that a lot, that it starts very small, it's micro steps. So I work a lot with teams. I have my own team in my company, and I work with teams in the studio, and there are often many people, and that's where the project starts. So the way we communicate, the butterfly effect of that, if everybody is respected, everybody is heard, I listen a lot, I work very collaborative, so everybody has a voice, and that's where the process or the content of the work also starts.
Yeah. So walk us through the steps of your process of creating a theater piece.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, for example, the last biggest project I made was Metamorphosis. It's a ritual at the end of patriarchy. That was a piece with 8 male performers that was performed in the big stages in the Netherlands and had a big international tour coming, but then COVID came, so everything stopped. We will bring the piece back up from July, and then in the autumn it will tour again. So why did I choose this subject matter, the ritual at the end of patriarchy? It came very much from a feeling of, I had done a lot of research on female empowerment, on the future as female, on the power of the female. And I think it was even after listening to Esther Perel once saying that 2019 would be the year of the men, and things add up. I felt it was time for focus, giving the stage literally to what the idea of male is, and how to emancipate us, or the idea of masculinity, how we have imprinted it in the way we live together. So to give a chance to men to emancipate themselves and to adapt to the new circumstances. That was the first entrance. And the second was that Trump was in power, Viktor Orban, all these populist leaders, which was for me also in conversation with the dramaturg that I'm working with, a feeling of patriarchy is on its last legs and shows its aggressive teeth. Like we all know the world is changing, and COVID and the crisis shows us we don't have it in our hands. The invisible elements in nature are controlled. We are part of them, they are part of us. So it's an assumption that male humans can control nature and the earth. We have to let go, we have to transform, we have to adapt.
I definitely relate with the subject you've chosen, for sure, and still very relevant. So the first step in your framework of working is to get an idea that it's relevant for not only for you, but for the society in general. And when you get this idea, what is your next step?
Yeah, so then the first thing I do is that at first I think I have to check with my team, timelines, etc., make the frame. But then the first big step is writing a paper where I describe content and form of the project. So I really have to put myself to write, what is it that I want to do? And I have to find words for it. Often the ideas are still in the dark. They are unformed, they are intuitions. And I have to pretend that I know what it's going to be in order to force myself to find words for it. And I used to not like that process at all, because I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be free and not to talk too much about it, wanted it to happen. But in the meantime, I have learned that this step in the process is a very, very important step of creation, finding words for that which is kind of still not yet named, and pretending that you know it forces me to trust my instincts, to trust my intuition, and I play a sort of game with myself. I do as if I know. Yes. And then I write those things down, and later in the process, half a year later, and this happens at least 1.5 years before a premiere. So I really have to become very concrete, also because we have to sell the project already at that time. So it has to be really serious what I'm writing.
And great explanation of the creation process through writing. I really love that, and I can relate to that a lot. I use writing for many, many purposes, and certainly in the entrepreneurship, there is a lot of creation involved. And just one thought that I have about what you're saying about writing is you are describing the future. You're describing actually how this idea that you have, how the end performance that will come out of this idea, how you can present it, how you can create it, so that it communicates the right message, so that it relates to the people, so that people understand it. So you are creating something that communicates, and it's in the entrepreneurship world, it's not any different. You are creating a service or creating a product that needs to communicate to the right audience. So in the entrepreneurship, we work with avatars of the audience, and we say, okay, what is the problem that we are solving for this group of people? So that would be one avatar. How can we help that group of people with our products? And I know it's not one-on-one translation between your creation process, but I just want to make a parallel that the entrepreneurship involves a lot of creation, a lot of moments of creation where you are in the dark, and you have to trust yourself that you're going to provide value at the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And what you're saying is also that what I do, theater in the essence, is always about communication, and that relates very much to what you're working on, I think. So it's how does what I present or write communicate to the person that reads it? And that starts, of course, from this first text, and then the next step comes that I have to present to my team the whole project. Who are the dancers? Who are the singers? In this case of the project was 4 singers, 3 singers, 4 dancers, and 1 drummer. And they were all male. And who is going to do the scenography? And who is going to do the light? I have to, so already that is my second pitching moment, where I have to explain and make my team enthusiastic about the idea. And that's maybe a little bit what I also mean with the butterfly effect. Sometimes it starts small, but it slowly spreads out. So then my team has to be enthusiastic. Then the next step is that 1.5 years before I do workshop audition to find the right cast. That is again a moment where I stand in front of people and say, hey guys, you are here because we are working on the subject of what masculinity means and how these structures need to melt. And I also want to work with song. So I ask from you a huge flexibility in versatile approach to performing. So the singers have to dance and the dancers have to sing as well, and the drummer has to dance. So I make people enthusiastic, inviting them into my world. And then only half a year later, again, half a year before the show, we do a first workshop with the cast. And again, we deepen the idea of the project. Maybe it's also nice to know that at the beginning, I do not exactly know how it looks like. So the art is how to write it down, or how to create a frame wherein the others can thrive, wherein the work can blossom.
Yeah, wonderfully said. Yes, I was just curious about when do you know that you are in the right direction? Let's say you have these moments, so you talk to your team, and then you talk to maybe the sponsors. When you've written what you want to produce, how do you feel, or is it feel, or is it something concrete that you know you're on the right track? Is it the enthusiasm that you get from the people or their reactions, or is it the space that you have to mold your project? It's very fluid, and to go into the right direction based on feedback.
I think it has several forms, but the first one for sure is the enthusiasm and the shining in the eyes that I see when I talk about the project. And I also notice when I say sentences that are maybe too philosophical or too weird and they don't really reach anyone, I see immediately, and when I present it. So I think this contact makes me more and more confident in which direction I should be going. And I think my work is the strongest when I hear the response and hear where people get enthusiastic, but I always have to do a feedback loop inside myself. Does this really interest me? Is this the direction that really I want to spend my life with?
Yeah.
Because this is my life, and at some point I will not be here anymore. So I have to ask myself every day, is this the direction that makes sense to me as well? So it's not only for the others, it has to be both.
Yeah, and that's a great point you're bringing. I think entrepreneurship, especially solopreneurship or freelancing, it is about a combination between, of course, your wish, your skills, your purpose in life, or what drives you on one side. Do I want to work on this? And on the other side, what's the need there from the society, from the market, from who wants to listen to me? Let's put it this way. So these two forces create in between there, create that magic, unique space where you can develop your pieces or you provide your services. Yeah, wonderful.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Let's see, how are we with time? I don't want to make this, I don't want to interrupt you in going through the process, but maybe if you continue with the next steps of the process, but if you can focus a little bit on the doubts and the fears, like this all sounds like of course you've done it a lot of times and that gives you confidence as well, but I'm sure that you all are also human, and you also deal with moments where you are in doubt or where fear kicks in. How do you manage to deal with that and not let that stop you from going further in achieving your goals?
Yes. Yeah. Well, the main there's doubt in every project. There's doubt all the time. Like, I never think I know it all. I think rather I feel like an amateur every day, and sometimes I think, am I really a choreographer? So that's really the case, that there is an experience, a level of experience, but every challenge, every day, every project is a new challenge. And always and again, I find myself in doubt. And most of the time it happens, let's say in the third week of rehearsing. The first week of rehearsing is always a party. We are in the subject, the people love it, working together, building a team, just getting to know each other if people don't know each other, discovering material. The second week is a confirmation of that, and at the end of the second week I do a first run through. It's again my exercise of pretending I know what the piece will be like. So I will do as if we are performing for 2,000 people. Then comes the third week, and in the third week, in every project, I'm in a crisis, because then I have to consolidate and I start to think about the premiere. So the playing moment, the playing element disappears and it becomes work. It becomes more serious, more having to really make steps, work it through. It's more tedious as well. And at the same time, often comes that moment of, why did I start this? Who wants this? This is really nothing. It's bad. It's not really going, where shall I lead this? And then I am lost. Luckily I know this moment now, so I don't crumble underneath it. And then of course, I'm the one who provides the frame, so I have to go to the studio. I cannot stay in bed and be depressed or something. I know I have to go through it together with the team. So I go full of energy into the studio, really not knowing how to go on sometimes. And even sometimes in fear, they will all look at me. I have to give them the answer.
Yeah. So in a way, you've created a sort of accountability partners within your team. So you cannot, you cannot just not show up and say, okay, no. I quit now. Sorry, we are 3 weeks before the premiere, but I'm in doubt. So
but the nice thing is also, and the nice thing is also that then there is a team. There are 2 dancers, 1 dancer, or 10 dancers, or more people that are in the studio as well. And that's where it starts to become interesting, because I put myself into the position and I start to listen to what is the energy, what is needed, what are the next steps that are needed, and I put myself at service of that. Yes. And that's the way I can wander together with the others through the dark moments of not knowing exactly where this should be going, but somehow the piece or the subject forming itself together. Yeah. And I'm not the only one responsible for the next steps. Of course, I take responsibility for it. Yeah. And when I see there is a direction which is necessary, I will pull it through. But when I'm lost or when I'm in doubt, I listen to the others.
Yeah, that's such a great advice. When you are lost, just slow down and listen, and trust that you will get the support from the universe, or from your partners, or from your colleagues, or from your accountability group to get out of that place of uncertainty. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's another
great advice.
Yeah, there's another, and yeah, one of my favorite feminist writers, thinkers is Rebecca Solnit. She lives in New York and works from New York. She has written one article where she says, going into the dark with our eyes open. So she says it's necessary to go into the unknown, into the dark, and wander in there, because the darkness is the most potential, the most rich place, and the not knowing is a very rich place, where love is being made, where children are produced, which you can see metaphorically as all sorts of ideas, and are being generated in the underground of the darkness. So wandering into the dark, not knowing, is an essential part for innovation, for something that doesn't exist yet, which is the nature of my work from the beginning until here.
Wow.
That I always create things that are not there yet.
Yeah.
And don't have a clear category that they fall into.
I really admire you, admire your work, admire you as a person, as a dear friend. And the one thing that I'm constantly learning from you, and that I hope you, our audience today, will also appreciate from this conversation, is how you pull yourself together, how you generate your own universe, how you generate your own project, how you make connections and partnerships within the society, and find the ways to communicate who you are, and to improve the world in which we are living in, all by yourself. There is no one telling you what to do or pulling you up when you're down. You've created, you show us, and me especially, because I have the honor to be your friend and often with you, what it takes to live your life with courage, what it takes, which any entrepreneur, anyone considering entrepreneurship should know. It's an act of courage to go there on your own, and really look deep down in you, what you can give to this world, what's your unique value to give to this world. I mean, Nicole, I have endlessly more questions for you, but we'll have to leave it for another time, for another session with you. Maybe just as a final word, that I stole from the way Tim Ferriss does the interviews. He always asks at the end, and I like that, if you would have a billboard that is shown to the whole world, and which message would you put there that can help people at this moment?
Yeah, there is something close to trust your first idea, trust yourself, something like that. Trust your first intuition. Yeah, trust your first idea. But I don't know, billboard in the city, it's a bit, I think it's more for people that create something, because I feel that often when you start a project, or when you start out something, you have an idea and it's like very clear, and you get excited, and then you get distracted by all sorts of necessities or conversations with people or things that happen in your life, or the project. When I'm in this doubt moment in the third or fourth week, I always go back to the beginning. What was the first seed? Why did I start this? Why did I think this was relevant? And that really helps me. So the first notebook, the first idea, that is the core, that's the seed.
Yeah, so what you're saying is also the first idea is always comes from a deep why. And the why is the one that will get you out of moments where you feel stuck. You just remember what is your why, and why are you doing this? What brings it to, what change does it bring?
Yeah, and that's a strong motor.
Yeah.
That can strengthen your core again, and say, yes, I can fight through these difficult moments. Yeah. Because it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Perfect. Nicole, Thank you so much for being with us. I'll share all the links about the things that we talked and referenced today below. So enjoy your day. Thanks to all our listeners also for being with us. Please comment and if this has initiated some thoughts or questions, I'm here and Nicole also to answer them. Thanks a lot and have a nice day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.